For some reason today, while I was sitting in mass, and I have to admit, when I'm in mass, intrusive thoughts just punch their way into my mind all the time. It's something I'm working on. It's something I'm praying about. Please pray for me that I do better about being focused on the mass itself. But anyway, I thought of an incident from childhood that I thought would be interesting to share. Um, it was one of those moments that when I think back on it, it just seems so silly. But now or then back then, it really seemed really significant. It was really a big deal. It's a weird case of bullying, kind of, but it was bullying from my friends. What would happen? I don't know if all friend groups were like this, but the group of guys that I hung out with, mostly in the neighborhood, occasionally we would get into some stupid argument about something or other, like what the lyrics to a certain song were, and if somebody said something and then everybody else thought it was something else, then the ones who thought it was something else would gang up on the guy who thought it was the one thing, or something equally as stupid as that. It was a weird thing that took place that I don't know. I don't even know how to analyze it or how to understand it at this point. But anyway, on this particular occasion, I don't know what I did to raise the collective ire of my friends. And there was one friend in particular who was like a slippery character, kind of the Eddie Haskell of the group. If you don't know who Eddie Haskell is, just look it up. He was like kind of a he was kind of a slime ball. I don't know, but we hung out with him for some reason, because he could be fun when he wasn't being a slime ball. So I would when I was in my youth, we're talking about 4th or 5th grade, something like that, I would stand like this. Let me try to show you. I would put my hands on my hips. I would put both hands on my hips like this, where my thumb would be on the front part of me, and the 4 fingers would be on the back part of me. Right. So I would stand like this with hands on both of my hips. I can't demonstrate that because I have to hold the camera with one of my hands, but you can just picture it. So I stood like this, and I didn't know there was anything unusual about it. I just sort of thought it was, it just came naturally to me. Later, it was like, oh, well, like the more natural thing to do with your hands is this. To put the 4 fingers, if you're going to put your hands on your hips, to put your 4 fingers in the front and your thumb in the back. And it does actually feel better. It doesn't, when I do this now, it does feel like I'm sort of twisting my arm uncomfortably, but this feels more comfortable. But for whatever reason, this is just what I got into doing. And so there'd be times when I would be standing around with my hands on my hips in that particular manner. And this gained me a measure of ridicule, because again, we were I don't want to claim that I was the only one who was ever victimized, who was ever on the outs. Sometimes it was some other kid in our friend group. It was rarely the slime ball manipulator, uh, but sometimes it would be somebody else besides me. But on at this particular time, it was me. Um, so another thing to understand about this particular period of time, which was the early 1980s, 82, 83, around that time period. At my school, it was an elementary school, but it went through 7th grade. That's not really important, but it's just kind of unusual. For most people, elementary school goes through fifth grade, and then junior high or middle school is 6th through 8th grade, and then high school is 9th grade. But anyway, at my school, Idlewood Elementary in Tucker, Georgia, suburban Atlanta. It was the suburbs, but it also was a little bit country at the time, and everything. So many things were, centered around what's cool and what isn't, right? And you like you had to like the right kind of music, and you had to wear the right kind of clothes. And it didn't mean that if you wore those clothes or liked that music that you would be cool. It just meant that you would be okay. You wouldn't get picked on. You wouldn't get made fun of. And it seems entirely arbitrary, but it's probably not arbitrary. It's probably based on a lot of things, and this is among boys, right? So there was like I guess a kind of we wouldn't have known the word machismo at the time, but it was sort of like, what would be more macho or more masculine and less gay seeming, I suppose, something like that. So with blue jeans, I don't even know if there's any politics around blue jeans brands. There probably is now. It's probably totally different, probably a totally different paradigm now. But back in the day, back when I was a little kid, between ages of 10, like 9, 10, 11, 12, around there were two types of jeans, two jeans brands that it was considered good or cool to have. And when I say cool, I don't mean if you wore these jeans you were cool. I just meant if you wore these jeans you were invisible. You wouldn't get mocked. You wouldn't get made fun of. And those two brands were Lee. You could either wear Lee jeans. Do those even exist anymore? I don't know. And Levi's. You could wear Lee or Levi's. But anything else, especially the designer brands. Now this seems counterintuitive, because you would think, looking back, that the designer brands would be what you would wear to show that you were wealthy, to sort of lord it over others, because they were much more expensive. And when I say designer brands, the only brand that comes to mind is Jordache. For some reason, Jordache jeans, if you were a boy and you ever wore Jordache jeans to Idlewood Elementary School, things would not go well for you. There was... The only reason I'm talking about jeans with respect to all of this seems kind of all over the place, but it will all connect together in a minute. There was a brand of jeans called Wranglers. at the time. And there was a commercial where they would show a guy, there would be this guy who was like a rodeo, he rode in rodeos and stuff, and he was tough, and he was a cool cowboy. Um, and the jingle for Wrangler was, "Here comes Wrangler. He's one tough customer. He knows what he likes when he sees it. When he says jeans, he means Wrangler." Um, you could probably find Wrangler ads. Type in Wrangler ad early 1980s. You can probably find these commercials on YouTube, I imagine. So this is there's kind of a gray area here. I don't know if maybe my mom, because my mom bought all my clothes, of course. I don't know if my mom bought me Wrangler jeans and I maybe wore them and they were, uncool, or if there was just something about the way that I stood with my hands on my hips that that people saw and made fun of and connected to these Wrangler ads that were thought of as silly and even though they were playing to the I don't know if Wrangler jeans were considered designer. They definitely weren't playing to the hip, sophisticated, the less than zero type kids. But I don't know if Wrangler jeans were like beyond the scope of the type of jeans that you were allowed to wear. Which again, as far as I knew were Lee and Levi's. But somehow I got connected to the Wrangler ad. And when I would stand like that with my hands on my hips in that unusual way, with the thumbs in the front, I would I would sometimes get made fun of. On this particular occasion, I had some kind of argument with my friend group. It might have been that we were playing baseball in the front yard or at the park, and I was arguing about we had some disagreement about whether I was out or safe, or whether whether I hit something in the game or whatever. But I got the sort of the bullying drive kicked in among my friend group. And again, you say, well, what kind of friends are these? Right. Yeah, I get what you're saying. But the thing is, there would be times when I'm ashamed to say I would be, if there was another kid who was on the outs, I would be part of the group that was on the outs who was making fun of that kid. So it wasn't like I was better than all this. And to a large degree, we were being manipulated by the slime ball guy, whom I will not name by name, but the Eddie Haskell type of the group. The type who'll insult you, and then when he sees your mom, will say, "Oh, you look nice today, Mrs. Nowicki," and suck up to her and that kind of thing. So on this particular occasion, which was devastating to me, but it's hilarious to think back on. So these, I think there were 4 other guys, and they were all mad at me, and they all were, in this mode of making fun of me. And something had kicked it off. I don't even remember what it was. Again, we would argue about really stupid things. Really, really, really stupid things. But they would become the biggest issue in the world. It's like, oh, so and so is so stupid. He thinks the first line to Safety Dance is, you we can dance if we want to, instead of I can dance if I want to, or something like that. I don't know. So, so, um, so anyway, I remember they standing there watching them. They were at a distance from me, and they sort of like whispering together, like, "Oh, we're gonna put on some kind of performance that's really gonna show Andy. It's gonna put Andy in his place for for being such a retard." Um, and so they all turned around, and they did this semi choreographed, like, song and dance number, where they were all going, "Here comes Wrangler, he's one tough customer," and they all had their hands on their hips in the way that I had my hands on my hips, and they were like swaying back and forth. Um, and it was meant to be a devastating attack on me, and at the time it worked. I rode my bike away, and I didn't cry, but I was very frustrated and angry at them. And thinking back now, it just seems like such a farce. And I just wonder about how these kinds of things develop in childhood, and if it's a part of, like, is it a part of every childhood, or was there something just about my particular time? It's probably there are probably things like that go on in every childhood, I would imagine, because pecking order is always important. Kids, you're always competing with other kids in one way or another, and I think girls do this too. I don't think it's just a boy thing. I mean, girls can definitely be mean to other girls, and girls can be mean to boys, and boys can be mean to girls too. But when you're that age, you're still mostly hanging out with other boys if you're a boy, or other girls if you're a girl. But there's just something so funny about this impromptu burlesque act that they did, where they were making fun of the way I put my hands on my hips by singing the Wrangler jingle at me, from a distance of about 20 feet away. I can still see it. I can still see it in my mind's eye, but I don't feel like right now. It just makes me want to laugh. Because it's so ridiculous. It's so silly. But at the time, it was just devastating. It was like, they're being mean to me. They're making fun of me because of how I put my hands on my hips, and because of whatever stupid disagreement we had. And it was, the biggest thing in the world. I rode my bike away, went home and sulked in my room, and I don't know, probably watched Battlestar Galactica on TV or something. I don't know. The original Battlestar Galactica, not the one obviously not the one from the aughts. So there you go. There's a childhood bullying story for you, and I hope you enjoyed it. And if you've experienced anything similar, then comment on it below.